Welcome to Upholding the Code and Standards, Hearing Process, Decisions, and Appeals. If your matter proceeds to a hearing panel will conduct the hearing and will consist of at least 2 members of the DEC and 1 other volunteer. Because the DEC itself is a volunteer board, it has its own counsel, known as DEC Counsel, to manage the adjudication process. At least 30 days before the projected hearing date, you will learn the date and timing of the hearing and whether the hearing will be conducted in person or by video. The hearing will allow you to present documentary evidence, elicit testimony from your own witnesses, and cross-examine witnesses called by enforcement counsel. You'll be able to tell your side of the story by answering questions from the hearing panel. Enforcement counsel also may have questions for you and for any witnesses who testify on your behalf. The hearing also gives both sides opportunities to make arguments to the hearing panel, including regarding appropriate sanctions. All of the parties in the hearing panel will rely on the DEC book to refer to documents during the hearing, which DEC counsel will provide to you before the hearing. Enforcement counsel generally bears the burden of proving the grounds for sanction in a complaint by a preponderance of the evidence, meaning it is more probable than not that a violation occurred. As with other parts of CFP Board's enforcement process, you may hire counsel to represent you at the hearing. After the hearing, the panel will deliberate and consider its recommendation to the DEC about how the matter should be decided. The recommendation will later go to the DEC for a final decision. It will likely take at least a couple of months for the DEC to issue its final order. Until then, DEC counsel, the hearing panel, or the DEC itself may request additional information and could schedule additional hearings. You will need to be responsive to any such requests. But otherwise, this will likely be a quiet period while you wait for the final decision. If the DEC finds a violation that warrants a sanction, it may impose that sanction. The range of sanctions is quite broad. On one end of the spectrum is a private censure, which is an unpublished written reproach for the conduct at issue. All other sanctions are public sanctions. CFP Board publishes all public sanctions on its website and in a press release, as well as any other form of public disclosure that CFP Board deems appropriate. The next type of sanction is a public censure, which is a written, published reproach of a respondent's conduct. The next category of sanction is a suspension. With a suspension, the individual remains subject to CFP Board's terms and conditions of certification and trademark license, but is prohibited from using the CFP certification marks for a period of time that can range from 90 days to 5 years. The most serious sanction is revocation, which completely terminates a CFP professional's certification and trademark license. With a revocation, you would be permanently barred from reapplying for CFP certification. Most final orders issued by the DEC can be appealed to the CFP Board's Appeals Commission. An appeal starts with a notice of appeal filed within 30 days of the final order. If appealed, the DEC's order will be stayed until the Appeals Commission issues its final decision. The Appeals Commission is composed of 5 volunteer CFP professionals and public members from across the country and from different backgrounds. On appeal, the parties will submit written briefs that present each side's argument to the Appeals Commission. Either party may request a hearing for the appeal. However, the Appeals Commission ultimately decides whether to hold an appeal hearing. The Appeals Commission must accept the final order unless the DEC's factual findings are not supported by substantial evidence, the DEC unreasonably interpreted or applied the code and standards or procedural rules, or the DEC abused its discretion when imposing the sanction. You can learn more about these topics in the Handbook for Respondents and the Procedural Rules, available on our website.